Hello, welcome back. My name is Jake, and today's video is episode number 4 of the Music Theory Basics course. Today's lesson is one that I think gets skipped over all the time. We like to learn the scales, we like to start learning notes, and then we want to learn how to put those notes together and start making chords and extended chords. But I promise you that the vocabulary and the things that we're going to learn today are going to be applied. They're going to be utilized so much as we go forward, and especially in the songwriting stuff. Today, we're going to learn about intervals.
Hello and welcome. I am Jake, a full-time musician and music educator based in Portland, Oregon. I make about half my living recording, touring, and performing, and the other half teaching lessons in guitar, piano, voice, songwriting, and more. And that's why I'm here on YouTube, to share with people around the world my music, my experience, and the lessons that have helped me along the way.
Okay, so what exactly is an interval? And I think the easiest definition to use is that an interval is just the distance between two notes, between any two notes. But remember that it's not dependent on the key or the notes themselves, but really the distance between the notes. So let's dive in. We have, starting on C, I like to just introduce this by thinking of the distances as these numbers. So starting on C from the root note, if we had two instruments that played this note, that would be called unison. But as we move up from C to D, that distance right there we'll call a second. From C to E, a third. From C to F, a fourth. C to G, a fifth. C to A, a sixth. C to B, a seventh. And C to C is an octave. But we also left out a lot of notes. So we need to get even more specific. So what I just played from C to D, we're gonna call a major second. From C to E, a major third. From C to F is known as a perfect fourth. C to G, a perfect fifth. C to A, major sixth. C to B is a major seventh. So we have some new vocabulary. We have the idea of major, and I like to think of these as from the root note to the second note of your major scale, or the third note of your major scale, as being the distance of a major second or a major third. Now we also use the word perfect. So we have a C to an F, that's a perfect fourth, and then a perfect fifth. Major sixth, major seventh. So we have major and perfect, but let's address these black keys on top. So from C to C sharp, that's a minor second. From C to D sharp is a minor third. From C to G sharp, a minor sixth. From C to A sharp is a minor seventh. And we've left one out. And yeah, that one just doesn't have a name. So from C to F sharp, this is known as the TriTone. This one right here, people often refer to as the devil's interval. It wasn't illegal to play, but it does have a rather sinister sound. We can see that all of these intervals have very specific names. And the way that we're going to measure those, we're going to talk about those in half steps. So from C to C sharp is 1/2 step. So 1/2 step is always a minor second. So from E to F, from B flat to B, those are all minor seconds because they are 1/2 step. So again, it doesn't matter where you are, what key you're playing in, what note you start on, but that distance from C to C sharp, that distance of 1/2 step is known as a minor second. So we can apply that same idea to all of the intervals. A major second is always 1 whole step or 2 half steps. So a major second could be F to G or B flat to C. Always a major second. So again, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, tritone, perfect fifth. These all have very specific distances. So a perfect fifth, for example, will always be 7 half steps. Whether you're starting from C, whether you're starting from D, whether you're starting from F or B flat, these are all perfect fifths because they are 7 half steps. So when we start talking about chords, and in the next episode, we're going to start talking about triads, these 3-note chords. So we think about the distances between those notes in really specific ways. And without going into it, it's really important to remember the idea of major third and minor third. A major third, 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps, and a minor third, 3 half steps. But more on that later. Okay, again, just a little aside for the guitar players. So I know that I always demonstrate everything on the piano because the piano makes it easiest to visualize. A lot of times the guitar seems like a big jumbled mess, but the idea of intervals also applies to the guitar. We just think about things a little bit differently. So when we learn intervals on the guitar, a lot of times we're learning what that shape looks like or what that distance looks like. So we looked at C to E, the idea of a major third, the interval of a major third, C to E. Now you could have C, E, or you could play it down here, C, E, and that is a major third, is a major third, is a major third, whether it's from C to E or D to F sharp or E to G sharp. All major thirds. So we learn about these different intervals and what they look like. We have the perfect fifth, which we see in power chords. You know, we have the octave. And we learn what those look like on the guitar. So I will do a lesson on these in the future. I could spend an entire 15, 20, 30 minutes just talking about intervals on the guitar and what they look like and how they can be really helpful. But just know that they are important, and to just start thinking about the fact that an interval is a distance between 2 notes. That is a very specific distance measured in, minor seconds and major thirds and minor sevenths and everything that we just talked about. But they're very specific distances, and you can start to learn what those look like on the guitar. Okay, now the question is why? Why is all this stuff important? And it's really important because, like I said at the beginning, it's going to apply to all the things that we learn moving forward. So when you start to make chords, it's really important to have that vocabulary about the distance between the notes, because the distance between the notes is what gives us different sounds. What can make a major chord into a minor chord, for example, just by moving one note. And we want to be able to refer to the distance between those notes really, really specifically. So in chords, it helps with the vocabulary. And then also if you're learning sheet music, you'll start to recognize what those intervals look like on the sheet. So for example, knowing that a third is from a space to a space or a line to the next line, and knowing that a fifth would go from a space, skipping a space, and then to another space, for example, you start to recognize what those intervals look like, and being able to name them helps with that recognition. And intervals aren't just important to learn on the piano or the guitar. They apply to all instruments, and especially to singers. So for all the vocalists out there, intervals are really important to learn, especially if you're singing with a group, and especially if you're doing anything that's based on sheet music, because you really have to know exactly what that interval sounds like. So learning that sight singing and that ear training can take a long time to develop. You'll talk a lot about intervals in singing, and to take it one step further, really learning how to recreate that with your body, which can be difficult, but is all built on what we talked about today. So if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around. And like I said, this lesson is one that gets skipped over all the time. So I appreciate you sticking around for it and really learning these things step by step. Because like I said, they're going to most certainly apply and be used as we move forward. So if you've liked this video, if you've gotten something out of it, if you learned something new, go hit the thumbs up. Like I said, the Music Theory Basics course is starting here. We're learning how to put together the fundamentals. And the next course is going to be on songwriting, taking all of these things and then starting to create and actually making music for it. So if you're down for that, consider subscribing and following along for the whole journey, because there's going to be lots of good stuff coming. Again, thank you for being here. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for learning these things. And as always, thanks for making the world a more musical place. I'll see you in the next one.